Resident Evil 5 is a controversial but overall light game in the Resident Evil series. It's the game that put the Resident Evil series fully into action, with the only way to play it being in co-op online or in split screen. You could also play it with an AI controlling Sheva, but it was an extremely dumb AI, and it was just frustrating to play with it as she wastes ammo, health sprays, and makes you want to tear your hair out. I actually like Resident Evil 5 quite a bit. It's a fun action game. But I do think it has potential to be up there with Resident Evil 4 as a truly amazing horror game if done right. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you in 5 big steps what I think Capcom should do, so here we go. Step 1. Remove Sheva and co-op. Now let me explain. I don't have anything against Sheva as a character, and I actually still want her to be a part of the story, but don't make her a co-op partner throughout the game. Have her in the game as an expert in the area, like Chris gives us calls sometimes, asking questions, directions, and advice. You could even have us play as her in her own section in the game, but make it so Chris is by himself after the introduction, when they first meet. Now about the co-op aspect, I know it has a lot of fans, but I do think it should only be for the Mercenaries mode. And I do think it's very important for the story mode to be single player only. Step 2. Go full horror game. The same way Resident Evil 4 is being remade with a much bigger focus on horror is something Resident Evil 5 can do easily if done right. For example, make the game take place at night and darkness, making it a lot more creepy overall. You know, the crowded execution at the beginning? Chris and the player should be fighting for dear life during these scenes and getting overwhelmed to the point of near where Chris just barely holds on. A great example of this style actually is in the first trailer for Resident Evil 5, before it became a co-op game. It shows Chris by himself, being overwhelmed, being grabbed and slammed into the ground, fighting for his life, and this should be that way in the remake. Last thing I need to mention is that the infected humans should also never have guns or body armor in this hypothetical remake of the game. At the absolute most, I think they should have chainsaws, bows, spears, machetes, other knives, axes, clubs, and crossbows. You know, the melee stuff. Step 3. Keep most of the story. The story of Resident Evil 5 is something most people agree on that is still pretty good for the Resident Evil game. It has some great characters and good moments, and it's the one thing, besides the Sheva rework into the game I suggested earlier, that doesn't need a massive change. You can even keep the stupid but iconic scenes like Chris smashing a boulder, but make it a bit more believable and less over the top, which gets me to the step 4. Nerf Chris Redfield, just a bit. This one might be a little controversial, but I do think it's a time we make Chris a little bit less like a superhero and a bit more realistic. He can still be buff and strong and be a really good fighter and all, but maybe tone down a little bit of the super mega punches he does in the original. Step 5. Less stuff. I think the remake should have around the same amount of weapons as the original, but make it more about the ammo and picking up the right weapons for your Chris to survive. For balance and keep with the horror, I think we should be able to have at max 1 pistol and at max 1 or 2 big weapons like a shotgun, along with a breakable knife like in the RE4 remake gameplay we saw a few weeks back. The game also needs to tone back everything to make it a big action game, like very rarely have ammo drops and make it about exploring the villages and so on to find out what you need to survive. Those are in my opinion the 5 steps Capcom can do or follow to turn Resident Evil 5 into a great survival horror game. This sadly might never happen, but if it does, I think this is the way. What do you think? Do you have any more suggestions of your own? Let me know, and thank you for watching, and have a great day.
This guy's lost it!
This may be our only chance.